My dear brothers and sisters, today the church remembers the memory of Saint Clare of Assisi. In the context of the church celebrating this great woman, I would like us to think about one of the astounding virtues which existed in her life, the virtue of poverty. When you hear about poverty, what do you think about? If I should ask you now, are you poor? You know, I studied, I have all I need, I have my car, I have all the things I need, so I don't think I'm really poor. Maybe there are poor people out there begging or something. But what kind of poverty are we talking about? Not just material poverty, but a poverty which leads you to be able to relinquish all you have for the glory of God. That's the kind of poverty St. Clare lived. A poverty which leads you to abandon all and depend solely on God. That's the poverty we're talking about. It's different from destitution. Like to say you have nothing to live on, you don't eat, you don't feed, you don't have medications, you don't have anything, and you're dying. That's different. That's some form of destitution we can talk about. But St. Clare, having all that the world can provide, being born and raised in a palace in Assisi, listening to St. Francis of Assisi and seeing how holy he was, decided to abandon everything and offer herself for the service of God. That is poverty. Deciding to rely solely on God. And that rings a bell throughout the readings we have today. In the first reading, we are being told, God again reminds Moses, I did everything for you. No one could have the privileges you have. Therefore, because of that, consider me important in your life. Honor me. Keep my statutes. Regard me as the God in your life. Because everything you have came from me. The privileges I gave you, I have given to no one. I think those words which God spoke to Moses could be fittingly addressed to all of us. God has blessed us with several privileges, graces, love which we cannot repay. Then what does he expect from us? Acknowledge him. Prioritize him. Have him as the first in your life. Keep his statutes. That alone makes us to understand that God has given us the privileges we have in our lives. And I think that's what the saints came to understand as they experienced God. They understood that everything comes from God. And what do they have again? Rather than giving God all again. And that's what they did. That's why we honor them today. In the gospel, Jesus tells us, if you want to follow him, you must deny yourself, take up your cross, and then you can follow him. If you think the important thing is saving your life, then you will lose it. But if you think that losing your life and serving him is the important thing, then you will gain it. My dear brothers and sisters, I would like us to just reflect it in our hearts. Think of the attachments we have in our lives which make us not to live in the poverty which is required of those who regard God as their priority. Poverty of spirit. Poverty which relies totally on God. We may have all we need. We may have all the worldly possessions. But being poor definitely means not being attached to these things. And not being attached doesn't mean that you have them and you use them, but you say, oh, I'm not attached. I have my car, I have my house, I have everything I need, but I'm not attached. No, it means to be ready to give them up. Then you're not attached. If you have everything and you're not ready to give anything, then you're attached. If you have everything and you're ready to give them up for the honor of God, for the service of the gospel, for the promotion of charity and the promotion of the human race, to help someone in need, then you can fittingly say, I am poor. But if your heart exerts that attachment to the things you have, then you are not poor. You are not poor. That is the example of St. Clare, whom we celebrate today. And eventually, when she gave up all the possessions and decided to join the good friend St. Francis of Assisi in the consecrated life, she found the congregation of women who are known today as the poor Clares, who live in austere poverty and are ready to serve God in that state, abandoning every worldly possession and offering themselves for the service of God. Truly, all of us can't do that. All of us can't allow all the worldly possessions and run into the convents or run into the monasteries. We can't do that, all of us. But in our own little way, wherever we are, we could be poor by not being attached to the things we have. So let's think about that today and implore the intercession of St. Clare, who is a great example of poverty, that as we go about our daily activity, we may ask God for the grace to be truly poor in our spirits. Lord, make me to be poor, that even in the midst of all these possessions which I have, I can readily give them for the honor and glory of your name. And for the many times which we have shown such attachment to the things we have, let us ask God for the grace to have a poor heart, a heart which is ready to give. May Jesus Christ, whom we shall receive in the Holy Eucharist, who inspires every saintly life, help us in this regard now and forever. Amen.